She fed a crippled beggar daily until he revealed a dark secret at 3 a.m. The chill of the night wrapped around the city like an old, familiar blanket. It was a blanket that suffocated as much as it comforted. Every evening, through streets shimmering with the last light of sunset, a woman named Clara made her way, with purpose, towards the corner of 5th and Maple. There, hunched in a ragged heap, sat a beggar named Frank, his legs twisted, forever crippled from a mystery that gnawed at his very existence. She was haunted by his gaze, a tangle of sadness and something unnameable lurking beneath the surface. Each time she approached, the air felt electric, charged with an invisible tension that wrapped around them both. She'd toss him a sandwich or two from her own kitchen, sometimes a warm cup of cocoa. Clara couldn't explain why she kept coming back. Maybe it was his piercing blue eyes, or the way he whispered stories of better days with a raspy voice that trembled with history. Or maybe it was the whispered rumors that drifted through the whispered conversations around the neighborhood, tales of dark magic, of curses, and secrets buried deep in the night. On some nights, shadows danced closer, almost listening, as though the very walls of the city eavesdropped on their exchanges. But lately, something shifted. Frank's stories began to twist, they spiraled into odd, and outright terrifying, tales of hidden forces, shadowy figures stalking under streetlights, and dreams unraveling at the stroke of midnight. Clara's heart raced with unease, it felt like he was pulling her into the depths of a horror story that had no end in sight. What was real? What was just a figment of his imagination? And what was lurking in the darkness, waiting? One fateful night, Clara decided she couldn't ignore it. She needed to know more. But that decision would cost her. She had no idea that the moment she pushed her unease aside, she was about to step into a whirlwind of shocking revelations. Around 3 a.m., a peculiar call echoed through her sleep, shattering her dreams. It was Frank's voice, a mixture of desperation and urgency, crackling through the phone. "Clara, you have to come now, I need to tell you the truth. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Fear stopped her heart. A knot of dread knotted in her chest. What truth could he hold that would shake her world? She hurriedly dressed, the night air cold as it kissed her face, fueling her determination. As she stepped outside, the street lamps flickered like warning lights, casting shadows that twisted and turned in unnatural ways. Every sound felt amplified, the rustle of leaves, the distant howl of the wind echoing her inner turmoil. When she arrived at Frank's corner, her breath caught. He wasn't there. An unsettling silence filled the space where his familiar figure often sat. The fear gripping her made her pulse thunder against her ears. And just when she thought she would return home empty-handed, a rustling came from a nearby alley, a whisper like a promise lost in the night. Clara's instincts screamed to flee, but she took a step forward, drawn by the urge to uncover the terrible truth waiting just around the corner. What secrets hid in the dark? And would she still be the same after learning them? The darkness of the alley swallowed her whole. For a heartbeat, Clara paused, her breath a trembling whisper against the thick, stale air. The rustling grew louder, and her mind raced back to Frank's warnings. She felt the shadows closing in, each step deeper into the murky unknown, igniting her senses. What was waiting there? A chill ran down her spine. Frank. The name slipped from her lips like a prayer. Silence answered, heavy and suffocating. With a deep breath, she stepped cautiously into the alley, her footsteps echoing off the brick walls. The dim light filtering through a high window barely illuminated the path ahead. She squinted, straining to make sense of the darkness. Suddenly, a figure lurched forward from the shadows. Clara gasped, instinctively stepping back. It was Frank, his eyes wild, reflecting the glint of something sinister lurking behind them. He grabbed her arm, his grip iron-like and urgent. "You shouldn't be here, Clara. You need to leave now." "Why?" she demanded, her voice trembling. "What is going on? You called me. You said you needed to tell me the truth." Frank's face contorted with a blend of fear and desperation. "I thought you could handle it. But not here. Not in the open. They're watching, always watching." His voice dropped to a whisper, sending chills coursing through her. "They'll know I spoke to you." "Who?" She shook her head in confusion. "What are you talking about?" "The ones who cursed me. The ones who haunt the shadows they've found a way back." Her heart stopped. The stories he'd scattered like autumn leaves in their past conversations suddenly felt like warnings. "Cursed. Frank, is that what you really believe?" "It's not just what I believe. It's real, Clara." His voice cracked, urgency spilling over like a dam bursting. "You have to understand, I didn't just get hurt. I'm tied to something dark and terrible." Just then, a fleeting flicker of movement caught Clara's eye. From the end of the alley, a shadow darted between the light and darkness, too quick and too fluid to identify. A muffled voice echoed, an unnatural hiss that crawled up her spine, pooling dread in her stomach. "Frank," she breathed, panic flooding her senses. "Run!" he shouted, pulling her against him as the shape leapt forward, revealing itself a roiling mass of darkness with eyes like embers. Clara felt the cold tendrils of fear wrap around her. She had only moments to react. Before she could scream, Frank released her and pushed her back, his own body shielding her from the encroaching terror. "You can't face it. Just go." His eyes locked onto hers, pleading for her to listen, then darted back to the creature, which was now stalking toward them. Clara's feet refused to move, her mind a whirlwind of choice. The horror, his sacrifice, and the madness bounding closer made her want to flee, yet something in her heart anchored her there. "Clara!" Frank barked, his face twisting with pain, both physical and emotional. "You have to tell someone. You have to warn them." The creature hissed louder. Panic surged. "Who? Who do I tell?" she cried, the words slipping from her throat like bile. "Trust no one except," but his sentence was cut off as the creature lunged, snatching Frank in its horrific embrace, shadow swallowing him whole. The world tilted, and Clara spun on her heel, breaking free from the paralysis. She ran and didn't look back, fear propelling her forward. The city rose around her, as alive as it was dead, each whispering street teeming with potential doom. The images of Frank, his warning, the creature etched in raw terror about her mind. Where did darkness come from? What curse was he trapped within? The corners of her reality crumbled under the weight of what she had witnessed, and now she was free, but at what price? Clara slipped into the night, frantically looking for safety as the question echoed loudly in her mind: was she running toward freedom, or was something darker still waiting for her in the shadows? Clara stumbled through the streets, her breath coming in short, desperate gasps. The city glimmered around her, yet all she felt was the oppressive weight of fear crushing her chest. How could she have let it come to this? Frank's words echoed in her mind like an urgent siren: trust no one except, but who, or what, could she trust now? As she ran, she glanced back, half expecting to see the creature chasing after her, its dreadful form coiling and twisting in pursuit. But nothing followed. Only distant shadows flickered under the streetlights, their benign motions laced with dread. Clara quickened her pace, focusing on the rhythm of her feet against the asphalt, each step a testament to her survival. The city's night life buzzed with a usual hum, a few scattered pedestrians, cars rolling past, but to her, it felt like a facade. She could feel it, the lurking darkness, and the sinister whispers of the world around her. Clara darted past a convenience store, its flickering neon sign offering waning hope. Inside, the clerk peered at her with wary eyes, but she didn't stop. "Tell someone," she muttered under her breath, panic clawing at her insides. But who? She lifted her gaze, the closest friend a fleeting thought flickered in her mind. Emily. But could she trust her? The weight of Frank's warning wrapped around her, squeezing her heart. With renewed determination, Clara turned and raced towards Emily's apartment. The path felt longer under the tension flooding her thoughts. What if the shadows had already encroached there? What if she ushered them in? When she arrived, the buildings loomed around her like a fortress. She pressed the buzzer on Emily's intercom, her thumb shaking as she did. Come on, Em, open up. She waited, holding her breath, as if the very air could be tainted by the darkness she fled from. Barely seconds passed before the door swung open, revealing Emily with bleary eyes and a concerned frown. Clara? What's wrong? Clara stumbled into the dim hallway, dragging in a shuddering breath. It's Frank. He's in danger. I don't know how to explain. Wait. Slow down. Emily held her hands up, stepping back. You look like you've seen a ghost. What do you mean danger? There's something dark. It's after him. The urgency in Clara's voice ignited Emily's alarm. She grabbed Clara's arm, pulling her further inside, away from the vulnerability of the street. What happened? Her friend urged, eyes wide and anxious. I was in an alley, and Clara felt her heart race again. He told me about a curse. He said it was real. They're watching. I don't know who they were coming for him, and then her voice cracked as the image of Frank's pleading face and the monstrous creature played over and over like a nightmare. How could you let this happen? Emily interrupted, panic seeping through her tone. You shouldn't have gone there. That's where he was. Those rumors I didn't know. Clara snapped, the frustration boiling beneath her skin. I thought I could help him. The realization sunk in, the implications swirling like a storm. Frank was in danger, and if she didn't act, he might not be the only one. Emily's expression shifted, an idea sparking in her eyes. We need to find out more. If they're watching, she hesitated, her thoughts racing. Do you think there's a way we can find out who they are? Maybe. Clara bit her lip, mind spinning. Maybe we should dig into those legends, the stories Frank mentioned. But just then, a sound broke through the air. A low, hissing whisper echoed from outside, curling around them like smoke. Clara froze, fear crashing into her chest again. What was that? Emily whispered, glancing at the door, terror reflected in her eyes. I don't know. Clara's voice shook. But I think they've already found us. As the shadows grew denser outside, they both knew they were caught between the light and darkness. The moment had come, and what lay ahead was uncertain. Clara faced Emily, her heart pounding. We need to prepare, to confront whatever this is. Are you ready? Emily nodded, resolve hardening in her stance. But as Clara turned her gaze back toward the door, the question lingered in her mind, could they truly face what awaited them, and would anyone survive the dark truths yet to be revealed? The door rattled in its frame, a soft but unsettling sound that sent a jolt through Clara's spine. It was as if the very house was holding its breath alongside her. Clara and Emily exchanged wide-eyed glances filled with both fear and a stubborn determination. What do we do? Emily whispered, fear threading her voice. Clara felt her heart race faster. We can't let whatever's out there in. We have to get to safety first. Swiftly, Clara moved to the window, peering through the curtains. The street below glimmered in pale moonlight, shadows gathering like dark clouds. Then she gasped, the breath freezing in her throat as she spotted dark figures lurking beneath the street lamps, jagged and unnatural. They shifted, their forms bending in ways that defied nature, whispering to one another as if sharing secrets meant to chill the soul. Clara? Emily's voice quivered, pulling Clara back to focus. What do you see? Something is out there. We need to find a place to hide. Clara turned from the window and scanned the small apartment. It felt claustrophobic, walls closing in as the shadows loomed closer. Where? Emily was on edge, stepping back toward the kitchen. The dim light flickered, casting eerie shapes across her face. The closet, Clara finally decided. It's small, but it will take a moment before they can break in. Without waiting for a response, they rushed toward the hallway where the closet stood. As they squeezed inside, Clara held her breath, the darkness swallowing them whole. The fear melded with the smell of old clothes and dust, a stark reminder of how fragile life felt in this moment. Emily shook beside her, her hand trembling against Clara's. What if they come in? They want tea, Clara insisted, feeling her heart hammer against her ribs. Just stay quiet. They listened, the shadows whispering promises and threats outside, too close. Clara could almost imagine their hissing breaths as they rustled in the wind, summoning a wave of dread that wrapped itself tightly around her throat. Minutes felt like hours as they huddled in the closet, the hushed voices rising and falling like crashing waves. She dared to peek through the narrow sliver of the door, her pulse quickening. Her stomach dropped when she saw two figures pass beneath the closest lamp, their eyes glowing unnaturally bright, hunting, but then she spotted something else illuminated under the streetlight, the faint outline of Frank's silhouette. He was there, but he was not alone. Hovering close behind him, shadows stretched and twisted, flickering like dying embers. Frank! Clara gasped, but the sound barely escaped her lips. What was he doing out there? Had he led them to this place? Did you see that? Emily asked, her voice trembling as the entire closet seemed to vibrate with tension. I don't know what's happening. Clara's brain raced, replaying everything Frank had shared, the curse, the darkness. We need to get out and help him. Clara, are you crazy? We can't just go out there. Emily's eyes darted to the door as if it might suddenly burst open with insatiable wrath. Stay here if you want, but I can't let him face this alone, Clara replied, her voice trembling but firm. She gripped the knob, drawing in a deep breath. Clara, please. Emily's plea almost broke her resolve. We're safe in here. If we go out, we don't know what they'll do. Clara swallowed hard, heart pounding louder than her thoughts. The whispering grew louder, echoes of dread and malevolence filling the air like smoke. Could she really risk stepping out there? As the tension mounted, Clara's resolve hardened. She had to reach Frank. With one final glance at Emily, she opened the closet door, stepping out into the uncertain shadows. What are you doing? Emily hissed, disbelief faltering into panic. I'm going, Clara declared, and they both turned toward the door, both facing the uncertainty beyond, but just as they were about to move, the doorknob began to rattle violently. The lock clicked. Too late, Clara whispered, as the door slowly creaked open, revealing the chilling darkness on the other side. Who? Or what had made it in? Clara's skin prickled with dread, and she took a step back as the dark figure loomed in the doorway, a twisted smile spreading across its face. Her heart dropped like a lead weight. Welcome, it hissed, voice slippery like oil. The hunt has just begun. The figure took a slow step forward, the dim light casting a ghostly sheen over its grotesque features. Clara's heartbeat thundered in her ears, nearly drowning out the shiver of nausea that twisted her stomach. Get back! She shouted, as fear ignited her instincts. Emily squeezed her arm, eyes wide like saucers. The creature tilted its head, the smile widening until it seemed to stretch beyond the limits of its face. Why hide, my dear? It crooned, its voice a smooth hiss. I come bearing gifts. Clara's mind whirred. Gifts? In this nightmare? Nothing felt right. We don't want anything. She yelled, taking a cautious step backward, her mind racing for an escape plan. Oh, but you'll want everything I have to offer. It stepped closer, the shadows pouring from it as if it were made of darkness itself. Clara could see hints of sharp teeth glinting in the dim light. And you will need it. Clara's breath hitched. Need what? She saw the hesitation flicker in Emily's eyes. They'd both been thrust into something unthinkable, and the urgency pressed against Clara's chest. "Control," the figure said gleefully, a wet chuckle erupting from its throat. "You understand the curse, don't you? Frank's secret." Frank's secret? Clara felt her heart plummet. "What do you mean?" she whispered, knowing deep down she wasn't prepared for the answer but needing to know. "Come closer, I'll show you the truth." "No!" Emily shouted, pulling Clara back as the shadows seemed to thrum with life, reaching towards them like gnarled fingers. "We have to get out of here." The figure's laughter echoed, sending shivers across Clara's skin. "Running 1T help you? The darkness is all around you, sweet girls. It always was. You should have embraced it when you had the chance." The door closed behind them with a heavy thud, the darkness swallowing the light in an instant. Panic surged through Clara. "We need to find Frank," she gasped, pushing past the horror of the looming figure as it began to encircle them. "Stay close," Emily shouted, her voice cracking as they darted toward the back door. But the figure stepped into their path, blocking their escape with an otherworldly presence. "Ah. The door isn't the way out. The only way is through." Clara looked to Emily, who was shaking her head, tears shimmering in her eyes. "I can't do this, Clara. Trust me," Clara urged, feeling every ounce of bravery she had swell within her. They could escape somehow. The creature stepped forward, the air thickening with its chilling presence. Clara felt weightless, a sensation bordering on disorientation. "Listen to me," it crooned, emotion swirling in its tone. "You think you can save him? Frank is already one of us." "No!" Clara shouted again, stepping forward despite the fear gnawing at her. "You're lying." "Am I?" The figure's eyes glimmered like shards of glass. "He chose his fate. Now, you must choose yours." Clara turned, her mind racing. Frank had disappeared into this darkness willingly. Could it be? What did he do? "He accepted the power to protect himself," it taunted, words laced with twisted glee. "But it comes with a cost." "Shut up." Clara clenched her fists, anger surging over her fear. And then she saw it, just behind the figure, the outline of a mirror reflecting the room, warping all within it. An idea sparked. "Emily, that mirror." Clara pointed. "It might show us the way." The figure recoiled slightly. "Don't you dare." As they rushed toward the mirror, shadows clawed at their heels, scraping against their legs like icy fingers. Clara's heart raced as she almost felt its cold breath on her neck. Were they too late to turn back? "Look!" Emily cried, her voice trembling. The mirror glowed, alive with vibrant colors swirling like a tempest. Faces flickered and changed. Clara gasped at the sight of Frank's face twisted in agony amongst those tangled shadows. "Clara!" Emily called, panic lacing her voice. "What is happening?" "I don't know," Clara shouted back. But she couldn't stop herself from reaching out toward the glass, an unending urge pulling her closer. "Stop! It's a trap!" the figure howled. But Clara felt herself drawn in. Whatever darkness had taken hold of Frank, she had to uncover it. As her fingers brushed the surface, a wild surge coursed through her. Images flashed before her, Frank laughing, crying, consumed by the very shadows threatening them now. The truth was horrifying, but Clara needed to understand. "What are you doing?" Emily grabbed her arm, eyes wide with fear. "Please." And then, the mirror erupted with a blinding light, and the darkness shrieked in protest. Everything went white. When Clara opened her eyes, she found herself standing in a twisted version of a familiar room, shadows swirling faster. Something deep within warned her to turn back, but she couldn't shake the feeling that Frank might be close. "Frank!" she called out, desperate to find him before it was too late, but as she moved forward, something echoed through the darkness, a low, rumbling growl that sent icy fingers racing down her spine. And then, a voice whispered, not unlike the figure before. "You shouldn't have come here. What lay ahead?" Clara's heart raced as she braced for whatever horror lurked in the depths. She had to find Frank or lose herself in the shadows forever. Clara took a shaky breath, fighting against the rising panic. The growl reverberated through the room again, more pronounced this time, echoing like thunder in an empty canyon. It was a sound that clawed at her insides, urging her to flee, but the desperation to find Frank held her in place. "Frank!" she shouted again, her voice trembling. Each syllable felt swallowed by the ominous shadows that danced around her. She strained to listen, to catch any hint of a response, but silence wrapped around her like a shroud. Emily clutched Clara's arm tightly, her face pale. "What if he's gone, Clara? What if we're trapped here forever?" Her voice was a whisper, laced with fear and doubt. Clara could see the glimmer of tears welling up in her friend's eyes. "No," Clara insisted, shaking her head. "He's here. I know it." But even as she said it, doubt gnawed at her resolve. What if the darkness had really claimed Frank? What if he was a prisoner in this twisted nightmare, just like them? With a sudden jolt, shadows coiled closer, and Clara instinctively stumbled backward, her heart pounding furiously against her ribcage. A pair of glowing eyes emerged through the darkness, a glimmer of light against the void, fixated on them. Clara's breath hitched in her throat. "Who are you?" she shouted, the bravado masking the trembling in her voice. The eyes blinked slowly, almost thoughtfully. "I can show you," a rasping voice echoed, rising from the shadows that surrounded the figure. Its form shifted, taking shape. Clara squinted through the darkness, desperation pushing her closer. "Show us what?" "Show us Frank." The creature stepped fully into the weak light, revealing a small, hunched body draped in tattered cloth, the skin a patchwork of scars and shadows. It was a grotesque imitation of a human being, and yet, Clara was inexplicably fascinated. "Your friend made a choice, just as you will now." The creature hissed, each word slicing through the air like a knife. "Choice? What do you mean?" Clara found herself wavering, the boundaries of panic and curiosity blurring. "Power comes at a cost," it replied, its voice smooth and hypnotic. "He sacrificed his humanity." The being extended a gnarled hand, gesturing toward the swirling darkness. "What are you willing to sacrifice to save him?" Clara's breath came faster. "I won't sacrifice anything. I'll find him," she shouted, determined to push through whatever this creature was trying to manipulate her into doing. "Foolish girl. Wait and see," it said, inching closer, shadows leaking from the corners of its mouth. "You'll have to confront the truth, a truth that may shatter you." Reality warped around Clara as tendrils of shadow reached for her, lacing around her fingers, pulling her toward the depths of the room. Panic ignited within her, and she jerked away. "Emily, we need to leave. Now." But Emily stood frozen, entranced by the eyes of the creature. What if Frank was right? She murmured, the light in her own eyes dimming. "No." Clara shouted, tugging at her friend's arm. "I want to let you do this. We can't give in." The shadows writhed around them, a living entity hungry for despair. "Come, Emily," the creature beckoned, its smile widening, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "Embrace the darkness. Let it show you the way." In that moment, Clara realized the terrifying truth: the creature wasn't just after them, it was toying with their very souls, laying traps of uncertainty and fear. With every ounce of strength, Clara pulled Emily away from the obsidian gaze. They stumbled backward, finally gaining distance, the creature's laughter ringing in their ears like a death knell. But as Clara looked around, the walls began to shift and pulse, the room warping into a nightmarish landscape, a maze of shadows and twisted reflections. "Where do we go?" she cried, desperation clawing at her throat. In response, the shadows split open, revealing a passage. It pulsed with energy, thrumming like a heartbeat. "Through the darkness, you'll find him," the creature taunted, echoing the words deep in Clara's mind. As they clung to each other, Clara realized this path wasn't just about saving Frank anymore. It was about finding out just how far she was willing to go to save herself, too. "Hold on tight," Clara yelled as they rushed into the unknown, shadows shrieking behind them, threatening to engulf them both, but somewhere in the heart of this twisted labyrinth, they might uncover more than they bargained for. Would the truth bring salvation or destroy everything they knew? The howl of despair rang deafeningly in her ears as they darted through the dark, uncertainty howling in their wake. Clara's resolve faded as she glanced back, the creature's words echoing ominously. "You've already made your choice." What awaited them beyond the shadows? The passage swallowed them whole, the darkness pulsating around Clara and Emily like mist suffocating the air. Every step felt heavy on their hearts. Clara's instincts screamed at her to turn back, to retreat to the safety of the shadows, but Frank's absence propelled her forward. "Do you feel that?" Emily whispered, her voice trembling, breaking the suffocating silence. Clara nodded, unable to articulate the wave of dread crashing over her. Each heartbeat thrummed through the darkness, the pulsing walls pressing against them as if they were alive, as if they knew their fears. The whispers started softly, a low murmur that prickled the back of Clara's neck. She couldn't quite catch the words, but the tone was unmistakably mocking. "Let us keep moving," she urged, forcing a calmness she didn't feel. She tightened her grip on Emily's hand, using it to anchor both of them against the tide of despair seeping through the passage. As they pressed deeper, the shadows began to shift again, swirling and twisting into shapes that teased the edges of their memories, figures of people they once knew. Clara winced as one shadow morphed into a familiar face, her father's, smiling gently before distorting into a sneer. "You're not strong enough, Clara," it taunted, the sound reverberating around them. "Stop it!" Clara shouted, her voice echoing with defiance. Emily's breathing faltered beside her. "Clara, what if it's right? What if we're not cut out for this?" "No." Clara was near tears. "We can't give in to this nonsense. We have to keep fighting." The darkness flickered momentarily, and a rush of wind surged through the passage, snatching away the shadows and revealing a fork in the path. To the left, distant cries echoed bitter and haunting. To the right, a faint glimmer of light beckoned, warm and inviting. Clara hesitated, doubt creeping in again. "What do we do?" she asked, fear clutching at her throat. Emily's face was strained, emotions battling in her eyes. "I don't know, Clara, but what if we're supposed to choose?" "Choose what?" Clara replied, panic tightening her chest. "This is a trap. We're not going to play their game." Shadows rippled along the walls, seemingly mocking her fight. "Please, let us just follow the light," Emily pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe it's a way out." Clara glanced at the darkness behind her. It felt alive, eager, hungry for their weakness. She could feel it reaching for her, curling around her feet like tendrils. The cries from the left were sharper now, filled with despair. Emily's voice faltered as she neared the light. It flickered and danced, promising safety and warmth. The tension clashed in Clara's heart, a heavy weight pressing against her ribs. "If we go toward the sound, we could find Frank," she snapped, clenching Emily's hands tighter. "He might be in danger." But as she leaned toward the sinister wails, they turned into shrieks, words coiling into her mind, echoing the creature's taunts. "You cannot save him." "Maybe they're right," Emily spoke softly, fear inching into her eyes. "What if we can't?" "No." Clara shouted, pulling her back toward the light. "I refuse to believe that." As she moved closer, the light surged brighter, bathing her in warmth. Yet Clara felt the shadows clawing at her ankles, desperate to drag her back. The walls around them shimmered and darkened, the struggle intensifying. "Make your choice." The echoes intermingled, a chorus of despair flooding their minds. Together. Clara yelled, determination igniting as she bolted toward the light, dragging Emily along. The moment they stepped into the glow, the world exploded into brilliance, a rush of warmth enveloping them. But in that moment of reprieve, an unsettling realization sank in. A mirrored figure stood before them in the light, their faces twisted in a grotesque imitation of joy. Clara's heart stopped. What is that? The figure smiled, distorted and wrong, as if it knew every secret, every weakness they had ever possessed. The silence that followed was deafening. What now? Clara whispered, dread racing through her veins. Just. Then, the figure spoke, its voice a mirror of Clara's own. Welcome home. With panic flooding her senses, Clara felt the darkness creeping back behind her. As the light flickered, casting ominous shadows that danced like specters, doubt washed over her once more. What awaited them in this false haven? Was it salvation, or a darker fate waiting to be unleashed? The figure in the light loomed larger, its smile widening with an eerie familiarity that made Clara's stomach twist. I'm you, it proclaimed, voice dripping with mockery and a chilling sense of certainty. Every regret, every fear, here I stand, the truth you refuse to face. Clara's breath hitched. No. You're not real. She gripped Emily's hand tighter, feeling her own reality slip away like fog under the morning sun. Her heart thumped violently, a staccato rhythm that echoed through the hollow chamber. Isn't this what you wanted? The figure pressed, stepping closer. It reached out with translucent fingers, brushing against Clara's cheek. The touch felt cold, unnatural. Visions flooded her mind, moments of doubt, fear of failure, all the times she felt she didn't belong. You never thought you could be strong enough. You wanted to escape. No. Clara shouted, summoning every ounce of conviction. I'm not afraid. I'm here to save Frank. But the words trembled as they left her lips, flickering with uncertainty. Emily, struggling to process the horror, seemed rooted in place. What do we do, Clara? She murmured, glancing between the glowing figure and the beckoning darkness behind them. What if it's telling the truth? The air thickened with tension, the whispers returning to taunt them. You're lost. You won't find him here, they hissed, a cacophony of despair. Clara's thoughts raced. Was Frank out there, or had he become a part of this twisted reality? Stay with me, Emily, she pleaded. We can't let it break us. But Emily looked at the mirrored figure, a flicker of recognition dancing in her eyes. Clara, it knows. What if it's right about us? No. Clara's voice boomed with desperation. We're stronger than this thing. She took a step toward the figure, heart hammering in her chest, daring it to dismiss her. Stronger? Or simply foolish? The figure laughed, a sound that echoed through the chamber like a dagger. Face the truth. Frank wouldn't have left you if you were enough. With a sudden surge of clarity, Clara realized the figure represented everything she feared most, her insecurities, her failures, and her doubts. You don't own me. She yelled, a fire igniting within her. Do I not? It sneered, the surroundings shimmering and shifting under its influence. This light is your prison. You cannot escape yourself. An instinct pulled Clara toward Emily. We must not let it trap us. Focus on what we know. In that moment, the light flickered, strobe-like, casting deep, restless shadows. For a fleeting heartbeat, the dark crevice of the passage came alive, whispering sweet, deceitful promises. Clara's gut twisted with panic. Emily's voice trembled, tinged with urgency. What if this is the end? No. Clara stepped back, pulling Emily into a protective embrace. We'll find a way out together. The figure lurched closer, beginning to dissolve into a mist that wrapped around them, creating an invisible barrier. Join me. Accept the truth, and I can take you anywhere you wish. The shadows swirled violently, and Clara's mind raced back to Frank. What was he facing? Would he be lost forever if they faltered here? Together. Clara screamed again, purpose renewed. We can choose to break free. As the figure hissed, the whispers crescendoed into a maddening assault on their minds. The light dimmed, revealing dark caverns filled with grotesque reflections of their fears. Could they push through the terror? Could they still save Frank from whatever darkness awaited him? The figure's voice slithered through the shadows. Will you confront your greatest fear, or will you choose the easy path? Clara locked eyes with Emily, determination flooding her veins. She felt the cold embrace of the darkness behind them, but there was a flicker of hope in their unity. The choice lay before them. But the question remained, were they ready to face the truth that awaited in the heart of shadows? As Clara stepped forward, heart racing, she realized one thing for sure: whatever awaited them, they had no choice but to confront it head-on. Together, she breathed, and the world around them pulsed anew, mirroring their resolve. But as they plunged deeper, burning questions lingered in the depths of her mind. What part of themselves would they have to sacrifice to escape? The darkness swallowed them whole. With each heartbeat, Clara and Emily pressed further into the shadowy depths, driven by a wild mix of fear and determination. The whispers grew louder, curling around them like smoke, wrapping them in a cold embrace that sent shivers down Clara's spine. Do you hear them? Emily's voice cracked, panic evident in her eyes as she strained to pierce through the gloom. They're everywhere, I know. Clara replied, forcing herself to focus, to ignore the oppressive weight of dread pressing down on her. But we can't give in. Not now. Suddenly, a harsh cry echoed from the depths, a sound so raw it pierced through their thoughts. It was a voice of desperation, one Clara recognized even amidst the chaos. Clara! Help! Frank! Her heart soared, then plummeted as the cries faded into wretched howls. The figure's laughter echoed in the back of her mind, a dark reminder of her swirling fears. He's here, but where? The shadows around them pulsed and shifted as if alive, a torrent forcing them backward with every step they tried to take forward. Clara felt herself slip. Emily, don't let go. She shouted, squeezing her friend's hand tighter. If they were going to fight, they had to stay together. I'm trying. Emily's eyes darted around, wild and frantic. But it feels like we're just getting pulled into the dark. The darkness doesn't own us. Clara cried, summoning her inner strength. We are more than our fear. As if rebutting her words, the figure reappeared, its cold form now a swirling mass of shadows. You say you're not afraid. But the truth is, all you have is fear. You're not strong enough to face what lies ahead. Watch me. Clara shouted back. We will find Frank and we will save him. The mist around them thickened, engendering wounds of doubt that burrowed deep inside her thoughts. Shadows flickered with twisted visions, grotesque images of failure and despair that threatened to suffocate. Are you truly willing to face all your worst moments? The figure taunted, creeping closer, its icy breath casting an unnatural chill. You could give up, you know. Just breathe, and it will all end. No. Clara's voice rang with conviction, pushing through the suffocating despair surrounding her. I refuse to surrender. The shadows shrieked in torment, and the figure recoiled, revealing a dark path littered with memories, your mistakes, regrets, all the moments that had chipped away at her identity. Are you ready to choose your sacrifice? It hissed, eyes glinting with malevolence. My sacrifice? Clara's heart raced as she turned to Emily, who looked equally lost. What does that mean? Only one of you can escape the darkness, the figure replied, a sinister smile spreading across its face. What are you willing to lose to save the other? Their faces drained of color. Emily's trembling hand wavered between them. Clara, I stop. Clara cut her off, breathing heavily. We won, let it win. We're in this together, no matter the cost. The figure shrieked in frustration, the shadows wavering as they writhed in fury. You can't hope to resist forever. Clara's resolve began to solidify, even as it wavered against the dizzying pull of despair. We're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. We're fighting for Frank, for everyone who has ever been trapped in darkness. Suddenly, a piercing light erupted from the depths of the shadows, illuminating the horrifying landscape with clarity. It flickered like a beacon, guiding them toward something. Was it Frank? Was it their escape? What lay ahead remained obscured in uncertainty, but one thing was clear: Emily, we have to go, now. Clara urged, invigorated by hope as she grabbed her friend's hand. The shadows roared, a cacophony of betrayal and rage as they pressed onward toward the light. But even as relief washed over Clara, doubt crept in. What if this light was just a trap? As they broke through the shadows, Clara felt the heat of uncertainty prickling at her skin. Would they find Frank waiting, or was the figure's taunt the reality they would face? Keep moving, Emily urged, and Clara obeyed, pushing forward into that radiant glow, even as everything they feared loomed just behind them. But just as they reached the edge, a terrifying thought struck Clara. What if the cost they had to pay was something that no light could bring back? As the shadows clawed at their heels, Clara couldn't help but wonder, what awaited them beyond the light? And would they be ready to face what they had sacrificed along the way? The blinding light enveloped Clara and Emily, a cocoon of warmth that promised hope and escape from the nightmarish shadows. Clara clung tightly to Emily's hand, fear battling with a glimmer of courage in her heart. They pushed into the brightness, hearts racing, desperate to leave the encroaching darkness behind. Frank! Clara shouted, her voice echoing in the radiant expanse. The light pulsed, flickering with anticipation, but the silence was deafening. Clara's heart sank, finding Frank felt more critical than ever. We can't leave without him. Maybe he's in here, Emily suggested, glancing around the ethereal space that seemed to stretch endlessly. Clara nodded, conviction guiding her. They had fought too hard to be swallowed by despair. But then, from the void beyond the light, the sinister figure lurked. Its voice smooth and mocking, it hissed, you think you can escape? You've already made your choice. Clara felt a chill race down her spine. No. I refuse to believe that. She shouted back, forcing herself to take a step forward. We won't be trapped by you. The light dimmed, an unexpected flicker casting shadows of doubt back into their hearts. This is your chance, Clara, the figure crooned. The only way to save Frank is to give in, to embrace the truth of your greatest fear. Clara tried to swallow the lump forming in her throat. I won't give in. I will save him. Rows of memories played through her mind like a film, and among the tangled mess, she remembered his laughter, the warmth of his friendship, a bond she would not betray. Then what will you sacrifice? The figure taunted, its voice a serpent's hiss. Clara gripped Emily's hand tighter, feeling the tremors of fear that lingered in the air. She wouldn't let despair take root. We can save him. Together. Emily nodded, but Clara could see the flicker of doubt dance in her eyes. Clara, what if it is too late? No. Clara's voice rang out, fierce and unwavering. He needs us. With newfound determination, Clara stepped further into the light, her mind focused on Frank, pulling Emily alongside. We have to believe in ourselves. Instantly, the light grew warmer, vibrant colors rippling across the space, each wave pushing back the shadows that lingered always just outside their reach. Then they saw him, Frank's silhouette, standing just at the edge of the light. He looked different, worn and shadowed, but not defeated. Clara's heart soared at the sight, but then a new fear gripped her. Frank! She shouted, locking eyes with him. Clara! Emily! Frank cried, his voice a fervent blend of hope and despair. The shadows were swirling around him, once again clawing towards the light. Help me! No! Clara cried. We're here. The moment their eyes locked, something shifted. Clara felt weightless, her fear dissipating as determination surged anew. "We believe in you, Frank. Fight back." As if drawn by their unity, a wave of light surged forward, pushing against the darkness that clawed at Frank. He staggered forward, the warmth of their presence igniting a spark in his eyes. I can." His voice trembled with resolve as he stepped into the brightness, the shadows clawing at him like last desperate grasp. Together, they reached out, grabbing his hands as a flood of energy surged through them like an electric current. The shadows shrieked, their voices rising into a cacophony of anguished screams, unraveling like loose threads as Frank stepped fully into the light. The creature's form wavered, snarling and shrieking, trying desperately to maintain its hold. "No. You cannot escape." It howled, stretching forth gnarled limbs, but the light was relentless. Clara felt their combined strength push back against the encroaching darkness. "This is our choice," she shouted. "This is our power." In that moment, the shadows flickered, and with a final roar of defiance, the darkness collapsed in on itself, echoing lost whispers. The realm around them shimmered and shifted, colors exploding into chaos. With a final surge of warmth and light, Clara, Emily, and Frank were swept away, shadows dissolving and fading into nothingness. For the first time, they could breathe without fear and without hesitation. They were safe. Clara opened her eyes, blinking against a familiar light sunlight. She was back on the quiet street of home, the thrill of dawn painting the sky in orange and gold hues. The world was normal again, vibrant and alive, bursting with the potential of a new day. "Did we?" Frank started, his blue eyes wide with wonder as he smiled. Clara caught his gaze. He looked whole again. "We did it," she whispered, feeling tears brim her eyes, relief flooding over her. "We really did it." Emily laughed, a sound radiant with joy and disbelief. "We fought the dark, and we're still here." But as they stood together, a soft breeze brushed past them, a shiver of memory, reminders of everything they had faced. Clara knew those shadows could return, could lurk just out of sight, waiting for an opportunity. "We'll be ready," Clara affirmed, locking eyes with Frank and Emily. They were stronger, knotted together by their experience. Together. And with that commitment echoing in their hearts, Clara felt the weight of the past lift off her chest. They could stick together, face whatever came next without fear. The warmth of the sun ignited new hope within her. This was a new beginning, a chance to lead lives full of influence instead of fear. She was ready for the journey ahead, one filled with light, laughter, and resilience. As they strolled together through the streets of their city, Clara turned to the sky, a promise forming in her heart. They would face anything, each shadow dissolved by their unity. But for now, in this moment, life felt right. Each step forward was a step deeper into the light, and she couldn't wait for what came next. Do you want to continue following these transformative stories? You need to subscribe now so you don't miss a single moment. Smash that like button now to show your support, and let us build an amazing community together. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories. What do you think is in store for our courageous trio next? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible conclusion. Your actions make a difference.